Welcome to another presentation at the East Trade Winds, hosted by Bernie Franzgrote and Wayne Pratt. The presentation today is titled Unleashing Revolutionary Business Change. Our guest is Dr. Keith Deats from Recreate. He is the founder of Recreate, is a seasoned business leader with a doctorate in business economics from University College Cork. With experience across 4 continents and 6 countries, Keith specializes in connecting CEOs and business leaders with their teams to unlock collective potential and drive sustainable growth. A firm believer in humanity's potential, experiential knowledge, and the value of diversity, he now offers business growth and leadership programs through Recreate, blending his rich experience with the world's top thought leadership.
I'm just going to give you a brief history of who I am. I'm South African born, and I think they must have dropped me on my head at a very early age because I backed the system all the way. I went into a world of seriously polarized racial discrimination, and I went and saw myself. I worked amongst these people and lived amongst these people, but I wasn't allowed to socialize with them. So I thought, this is absolutely nonsense. But I lived in a community, a South African community, which had European roots, Scottish, German, Jewish, Dutch, French, and then amongst indigenous black tribes like this and the Swazis. But I was constantly getting into trouble because I had questions. And the questions were as to why white folks lived with such great privilege and black folks didn't. But fortunately, and I say this without disrespect to my parents, they were apathetic enough and socialites enough for me to actually decide that I could actually just basically get on with life without much involvement. And my questions were always about, why do we live like this? So I started questioning. I got expelled, and I got beaten, and the more expelled and more beaten I got, the more I asked questions. Then I ended up in the military, in counterinsurgency, in the South African Bush War, and suddenly realized that my relationship with indigenous people made life a lot easier because in spite of the Western standards of how we think and how we should do things, they were actually brilliant people. They were my greatest teachers. So when I finished that military stuff, I ended up being in a diamond and gold prospector in very remote areas. And again, I was working with local crews who were tribesmen, and I realized these guys knew some stuff that I would never have learned from many people. They knew their systems well. They knew how to run their businesses well. They knew how to trade well. And they gave me a huge sense of curiosity about the world. One of the other things that I did do is I eventually became a bush pilot just before the days of the internet, and we were trying to figure out how to market. So I did a lot of aerial marketing. And as the story unfolded, I went to colleges and universities, and I went through them, and I always came out of a college degree or a master's degree saying, so what? What now? And then somewhere in about, I think it was when I turned 51, I was told that there was a course being run by 2 Harvard professors. And I was wondering whether a strange bloke like myself now, with strange ideas, would actually find fertile ground there. So I said, I'll give it a crack. And off I went, and I was surprised to see that the way these tribesmen were thinking at the time and the way their systems were working, which predate our Western systems by thousands of years, were actually quite unique. So I had to put this into words. The idea was to try and get people to understand that if you get into a world of ease and you get into a world of joy. So when I was amongst the tribesmen, they were, no matter how hot it was and how difficult it was and how strenuous and arduous the tasks were, they always seemed to be happy. And they could talk. Man, they could talk and laugh. So I then put that down in a dissertation, which took me about 7 years. And from it, I then created a piece of work about what I believe really good adult education is. Because having gone into these colleges and universities, and there's no offense intended, I didn't come out of there feeling really inspired. I came out of there thinking, so what was that all about? So I then started looking at adult education from a very different perspective, and then integrated growth, personal and business growth into that. So I was famous for sitting with the old packet of cigarette boxes with a packet that had 30 cigarettes and a pencil and a calculator. And I was always working stuff out. So eventually I knit that all together and I said, there's a different way to do things. So I trained as a coach, did the old MBA story, the doctorate, and I came out of it with a very different question. When are we actually learning? When are we actually starting to achieve what we want to achieve without actually breaking our heads? And then I had to learn a new skill to unlearn everything that I had learned. And that is when the workshops came into place. And the workshops were there to give adult learners the space to be able to really deal with the unsaid, right? In a very safe space. Say what it is they need to say. And I worked on the theory that if you don't tell me about yourself, I will never know you. You may have an insight that I would never have had. And it comes from those early days of actually growing up in Africa. We spoke about everything. A black man and a white man weren't allowed to be in the same space. I was in their space all their time. And we laughed a lot and we learned an enormous amount about each other, but not just about each other's cultures. We learned a lot about the way we were thinking. Now, if you look at the amount of stuff that flows through LinkedIn, it's unbelievable. There's a theory of this, and there's a theory of that, and there's a theory of this and that, and another theory on top of that. And this works, and that doesn't work, and this works, and if you do this my way, what a lot of malarkey. So for me, when you're moving into that space of having a proper conversation with another person, both people, strangely enough, are listening because they're curious about each other. We are in the greatest learning space ever. No matter how smart your professor is, he may be 8 foot tall. He may have a big Merchant pipe. He may wear tweeds, but he is not going to get my attention unless he talks to me and he listens to me and I listen to him and we have these conversations. So what we did is we created that space. And it sounds very simplistic, but it's actually not. A lot of the stuff comes from American business schools. One of my greatest teachers is now dead. It's not my fault, but he was a brilliant educator. There's another one who's a Canadian, a guy called Henry Mintzberg. Unbelievably good guys. But the approach to education and business and growth is completely different to what's being rammed down our throats from business school. So I thought, all right, I better put something together. So what I did is during the pandemic, and I'm busy, by the way, I've got quite a nice clutch of clients and I keep myself going. I keep them harassing them. They harass me. We have a good laugh. And every now and then we fall off the wagon and hold a bit of abuse at each other. But we just get on with it, really. Because we work in a world of living with a place where we are dealing with the unsaid all the time. Difficult conversations become easy. Discomfort becomes a more relaxed way of being. And there is no smoke and mirrors, or we blow it away as fast as we can. So then I set up these workshops, and the workshops were designed to integrate the thinking of Bernie, the thinking of Wayne, the thinking of Percy, the thinking of so many people in the room, and then to actually go into practice immediately. So when I finish a workshop, I actually go into practice with individual and clients, and I bring up certain subjects, and then I share knowledge and experience, learning by doing. Shared experiences, lived experience, kicks ass. The rest you can keep. So that's where I operate from. And does it work? I could sit here and do a proper USB where I put up my hands in the air and stand up in front of you with the suit on and tell you how bloody marvelous I am. But the fact of the matter is I'm glad to tell you that I have grown and turned around big businesses. And the reason these guys have used me is because I offer them a place to really roll the sleeves up. And I've seen rants like you've never seen in my life. And I just think they are the best things in the world because now we're starting to get to know who that person actually is. And now I know more about him and he knows more about me. I put together the series, and the idea of putting it together was to really work with game changers. And I'm talking about people who do like to make change for themselves first, primarily as leaders, and also work with coaches and consultants. You can move on after that one. The courses are pretty unique in the way that they actually do work on the interpersonal, relational, commercial issues, and of course the employability of the individuals who attend them. We go into the world of business psychology and sociology and We are even going to the world of cash flow, P&L. And I think I am the nemesis of most chartered accountants. When they see me coming, I say, my God, there he comes again. But I really do know how to challenge thinking beyond the numbers. We build these frameworks and we help people move through them. It's more of a facilitation than me standing up there and being just smart ass and sitting here and making a presentation that is probably easy for you to just read yourself. Obsession, world class. So I search for the best thinkers and I bring them in through either articles and we get into the whole idea of getting people to participate and make sense of these situations as experiential learners. And then, of course, we're not here to fix stuff. We do it in live sessions. So it's not some kind of a him and a thing, and you listen to me and I'm standing up on my pedestal telling you how bloody marvelous I am. There's engagement. This just tells you where we sourced information from. The key thing here is that one of the things that I learned from Africa is that there were very smart people walking around in the bush who actually had taught me stuff. I just felt that education at the level that I have had the privilege of working at should be accessible to everybody, and it should be affordable. And we designed the workshops around that, which means that it's accessible. Some of the guys make a contribution to the workshop, some of them don't, but I never turn a person away because a lot of my learning came from people in the field. So there's leading and uncertainty. That's a nice one if you really want to get in and understand leadership from some very different perspectives. It's not everybody's cup of tea because it often leans into the sort of geopolitical, economic stuff, which I think is actually damn good. I think it's very funny because some of the leaders we've got out there running countries, at least we have the ability to have a voice in terms of how we might want to do it and how we might want to teach each other to do it. So that's a pretty good one to come to. I like it, and it's very well attended from all over the world. It's a group participation. How do I grow my networks? How do I actually build a portfolio of clients? What is it all about? It moves into the relational stuff, and it also gives you a place to actually get in there and actually practice. I think you guys call them USPs. It's such a strange word. What's a USP? Unique selling proposition. Yeah. When in fact, all the clients that I've onboarded were through conversations, and it actually became a relationship and a sharing of experience and how I do it and how they would want to do it. And then we actually get into that blended learning environment, and it's been very successful. So that's that high value networks thing. I actually quite like it because I think we've run it. I don't know how many iterations we've had of it, but it's good fun because often people in the room who are working with you can teach you stuff. Are you with me? So you're sitting there as you don't know it all. And then some guy says, what about that? And I said, oh, geez, I don't know about that. And then everybody learns through the experience. Yeah. And of course, it's online and it's live and it's peer-to-peer. It's good for individuals and it's also good for businesses. It takes people through through three distinct sort of developmental trajectories, if you want to get all academic about it. It takes us out of the traditional world into the sort of authoring world, and then into what they call transformative world of how we actually think and the way we think changes and how to use it and when. It's pretty good. It's good for coaches, consultants, and business leaders. And I rather like it. And I use it all the time, given that I spent 7 years crunching through piles of information. That is now putting a whole bunch of leaders in a room together and getting them to consult for each other. It's excellent. To me, it's still the Rolls Royce. I act as a facilitator, and I don't think we'll ever really get past getting 8 people in a room, and it'll take 2 days to get through 8 people. And information's there for you if you want it. That's something that we do offer is a monthly subscription, which will give you access to all of the workshops. It will also give you all the material you need. It will give you all the background support that you need. And it will give you the space to debate and dialogue and innovate and all that kind of good stuff. The thing that's key about these workshops is that they are work-related. They are situationally related to your situation. They are usable. And they're iterative, so you can come back and update and update and update and update. And it's not going to cost you $5,000. The key thing that we did is when I started approaching the various universities about the workshops, I found that they were not prepared to put their stickers on them. Are you with me? The badge. But if you come through these workshops and you've been through these workshops, they won't do that because as far as they're concerned, they are not prepared to sell on their intellectual property because they are Oxford or Cambridge or whoever they want to call themselves. I flipped that completely. I said, but hang on, information is free. Knowledge is free. Okay? You just need to know where to go. So I then approached an accrediting body, which is international. And I said to them, I need to accredit these things so that people can certify themselves. So if you're a professional, you can get your certification and you can rack up your 35 CPD points. So that's what that offers. We move on. There's other things that I do, the boring stuff. I do work as a business and executive coach, but I think I'd probably call myself an agent provocateur. I work with businesses, and I have been working with businesses all my life, either leading them or running them or working with the business leaders and their teams. I have an enormous amount of fun, and I think Wayne said something earlier on to me, which I really loved. He says, use the word enjoy. I only do the work I like, and I do the work I like with the people I like. Some people don't like me. I don't really care. I don't care whether they like me or not. I like the work that I do, and it brings me a serious amount of pleasure and enjoyment. Non-executive directorships, I should remove that from that slide. I think it's a thorough waste of my time, and it's a thorough waste of any company's time because there's too much stigma attached to that at the moment. That these guys are experts and people in the room are idiots without them there. But I do offer it from time to time. There you go. But I do know my way around people and businesses and how we get from one place to the other. I'm a great believer in lifelong learning. And I also believe that you can find those resources if you want them and you can get them. And you should be able to use them in your own setting, which is another thing that I do offer. Once you've been through these various accreditations, you can use these courses in any way you like. There is no copyright on it. And although I had to, when I finished my dissertation, copyright the content. But remember, it's my dissertation, it's not theirs. So I have not copyrighted it. I give people access to use this information. The only thing that I would say to you, and I have had to learn to do it, is if you're using somebody else's work, cite it correctly. And that's it. So if there's any questions, I'm sure you're going to throw piles of them at me or you're going to think he's balmy. I don't mind. Either way is good for me.
Unlock the full potential of networking with East Trade Winds. Are you eager to connect with our esteemed guest speaker and delve deeper into the ever-expanding universe of connections? Simply scan the QR code now and embark on a journey of endless opportunities. Join us at East Trade Winds, where we gather online via Zoom every Tuesday from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, you're welcome to connect with us. Seize the moment, register for free, and start exploring today. Fancy sharing your insights as a guest speaker? We're looking for you. Reach out to Wayne Pratt to ignite your speaking journey. Email him at wayne@motivateyou.ca or connect with Wayne on LinkedIn. Don't wait. Take action and be a part of a global community that's shaping the future of business networking.